For years, analysts have been predicting that 2025 would be a turning point for Brics. And now, just a short way into the year, it's already happening. Originally made up of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, this economic alliance is no longer just a small club of emerging powerhouses. It's expanding fast, so fast that 23 more countries are now in the process of joining, according to a recent statement from Russia. One of the biggest names on that list? Nigeria, Africa's largest economy and a rapidly growing global player. Along with Indonesia, Nigeria's entry into Brics is a game changer, strengthening the group's push for a bigger role in shaping world affairs. But how did this shift come about? What does Nigeria stand to gain? And more importantly, how could this shake up the global financial system? In today's breakdown, we'll dive into Brics' growing challenge to the US dollar, the impact on world trade, and how this expansion could reshape international finance as we know it. Everything changed on January 1st, 2025. That's when Brics officially kicked off its most ambitious expansion yet, marking the start of a new era. Already representing over half the world's population and more than a third of the global economy, Brics is now pushing even further under Brazil's leadership this year. And it didn't take long to make its first move. Indonesia was welcomed as the first new member of 2025. But it wasn't alone. Nigeria, with its booming economy and vast natural resources, also officially came on board, reinforcing Brics' growing footprint in key regions around the world. Nigeria joining Brics is a big deal for a lot of reasons. First off, it's the most populated country in Africa, with over 200 million people. But even more importantly, it's one of the continent's biggest economic engines, with a GDP that crosses the $500 billion mark. That puts it among the largest economies in the developing world. And it's not just about numbers. Nigeria is sitting on a treasure chest of natural resources, oil, gas, minerals, you name it. That gives it serious bargaining power, both economically and geopolitically. Now, with Nigeria in the mix, Brics isn't just growing. It's gaining a major foothold in Africa, a region that has historically been pushed to the sidelines when it comes to global economic decisions. By bringing Nigeria on board, Brics is making a bold statement. It wants to be a key player in shaping the world's financial future, offering an alternative to the Western-dominated economic system. This isn't just an expansion, it's a shift in global influence. But Nigeria is only part of the bigger picture. Another heavyweight has also joined the ranks, Indonesia. This Southeast Asian giant isn't just any new member. It's a country that sits right in the middle of some of the world's busiest trade routes. For years, Indonesia has been a central force in ASEAN, the powerful regional bloc that plays a massive role in shaping trade across Asia. Now, by joining Brics, Indonesia is helping to expand the group's reach deep into Southeast Asia, a region critical to global commerce. Economically, Indonesia is a powerhouse in its own right, with a booming economy worth over $1 trillion and a population approaching 280 million. And just like Nigeria, it's loaded with valuable resources, energy, minerals, and agriculture, making it a crucial link in global supply chains. But perhaps the most interesting part? Indonesia's decision to step away from its traditional reliance on Western economic partnerships. By joining Brics, it's signaling a shift toward a new financial order, one where emerging economies take the lead instead of following the rules set by the West. Indonesia joining Brics is more than just another country signing up. It's a major shift in the global balance of power. With its vast resources and strategic location, Indonesia is now positioned as a key player in Brics' mission to create a world where no single power calls all the shots. For Brics, this isn't just about adding another economy to the mix. It's about unlocking new markets, expanding trade routes, and making sure that the world's financial system isn't controlled by just a handful of Western institutions. But Indonesia and Nigeria are just the beginning. As of 2025, a growing list of countries, including Algeria, Bangladesh, Morocco, Colombia, and Pakistan, are lining up to join Brics. In total, 23 nations have expressed interest, signaling a clear shift in how countries are thinking about their economic futures. Why the sudden rush? Because for many of these nations, BRICS represents something different. A financial system that doesn't put them at the mercy of organizations like the IMF, the World Bank, or the G7. Instead of having to play by the old rules, they see an opportunity for fairer economic partnerships, better trade deals, and a way to strengthen their economies without being overly dependent on the West. One of the biggest reasons so many countries are paying attention to BRICS is its push to move away from the US dollar. For decades, the dollar has been the world's go-to currency, giving the United States enormous control over global trade and finance. With that power, the US has been able to enforce sanctions, freeze bank accounts, and cut off countries from major financial systems whenever it wanted. On top of that, because the world relies so heavily on the dollar, the US can print more of its currency without feeling the same inflationary pressure that other countries would face. Meanwhile, smaller economies that depend on the dollar often find themselves trapped in financial instability, vulnerable to decisions made in Washington rather than their own capitals. BRICS, however, has a different vision. Instead of relying on the dollar, the alliance is working to encourage the use of local currencies in international trade, offering countries a way to break free from the dollar-dominated system and regain control over their own financial futures. BRICS is setting the stage for a massive economic shakeup, and at the heart of it is a bold move, reducing reliance on the US dollar. By shifting toward local currencies, BRICS nations are looking to protect themselves from the financial instability that comes with depending too much on a single currency controlled by one country. For nations like Venezuela and Nigeria, this shift could be a game changer. These countries sit on enormous reserves of oil and natural resources. Yet they've often found themselves at the mercy of Western economic policies, sanctions, and restrictions that limit how they can trade and grow. Using local currencies for trade would give them more control over their wealth and reduce outside interference in their economies. But this isn't just about money, it's about independence. For decades, many countries have struggled under financial systems that keep them in cycles of debt, political pressure, and economic instability. The rules are often set by global institutions that claim to help but end up enforcing policies that can make things worse, like forcing governments to cut social programs in exchange for loans. BRICS wants to change that. It's offering a different kind of economic partnership, one that focuses on fairness, respect, and cooperation instead of control. By reducing dependence on the dollar, the group is working to create a system where power is spread more evenly. So, no single country or institution has the ability to dictate the financial future of others. This is one of the biggest reasons BRICS is attracting so much interest from developing nations. Many of these countries have had difficult experiences dealing with organizations like the IMF and World Bank, which often attach strict conditions to their financial aid, forcing governments to make painful cuts that can deepen poverty and inequality. Instead of following that model, BRICS has introduced its own alternative, the New Development Bank. Unlike Western institutions, this bank provides funding without imposing political conditions, making it a far more attractive option for countries looking to invest in their economies without strings attached. But the benefits of local currencies go beyond just avoiding outside pressure. They also help stabilize national economies. Take Indonesia, for example. With its prime location and huge energy reserves, Indonesia could strengthen its economy by trading directly with other BRICS members using its own currency. This would make its financial system less vulnerable to sudden shifts in the value of the US dollar and reduce the risk of being impacted by foreign sanctions. By establishing trade agreements based on local currencies, BRICS nations are laying the foundation for a more stable and self-sufficient economic network, one that isn't dictated by policies coming out of Washington or Brussels. The more countries embrace this shift, the weaker the grip of the US dollar becomes, and the stronger BRICS grows. This isn't just a change in how nations trade. It's the foundation of an entirely new financial system, one that reflects the rise of emerging economies rather than the dominance of just a few Western powers. But with so many nations eager to join, one big question remains. Will BRICS open its doors to all 23 countries lining up for membership? The overwhelming interest in BRICS proves that more and more nations see it as a real alternative to Western-controlled financial institutions. However, the alliance isn't in a rush to accept just anyone. Its leaders are being careful about expansion, making sure that new members align with the group's core principles. Joining BRICS isn't just about getting a seat at the table, it's about commitment to economic independence, fairer trade systems, and breaking free from financial models that keep certain countries dependent on the West. That's why the selection process is deliberate. BRICS is prioritizing nations with strong economies, regional influence, and a clear vision for reducing reliance on traditional Western financial structures. This strategy ensures that every new addition strengthens the group rather than diluting its mission. By expanding in a structured way, BRICS isn't just getting bigger, it's becoming more powerful. As this alliance grows, it's clear the global economic landscape is shifting. The world is moving away from a system where a few countries hold all the power, and toward a future where economic influence is shared more fairly. The rise of BRICS isn't just about trade deals and financial policies. It's about a deeper transformation in how global power is distributed. And with de-dollarization on the rise, the balance of economic control may be changing faster than anyone expected. So what's your take? Do you think BRICS is leading the way to a more balanced world economy? Or is this shift creating new challenges? Let's talk about it. Drop your thoughts below.